There's something peculiar about how we move through relationships. We walk through life believing the people closest to us have our best interests at heart. Perhaps they do. Or perhaps we've confused their needs with our well-being. Perhaps we've become so accustomed to saying yes, so practiced in the art of accommodation, that we've forgotten what it feels like to say no. We've forgotten that no is a word available to us, a boundary we're allowed to draw, a choice we have the right to make. The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. But what happens when the transformation destroys rather than creates? What happens when the alchemy turns gold into lead? You've felt it, haven't you? That strange exhaustion that settles over you after certain people leave the room. It's not the tiredness that comes from good work or honest conversation. It's not the pleasant fatigue of having given something meaningful. It's something else entirely. Something that feels like a piece of you has been carried away in their pocket and you're not sure you'll ever get it back. You feel lighter, but not in a good way. Lighter like something essential has been removed. Lighter like loss. I spent years studying what draws human beings together and what tears them apart, exploring the insights of Carl Jung empath and personal development work. And I discovered something that most people never consciously recognize. Not all connections serve our becoming. Some people don't want to meet you. They want to consume you. And the most dangerous part is that they do it with your permission wrapped in words like love, family obligation, and need. Think about it for a moment. When was the last time you did something purely because your soul demanded it, not because someone needed you to? Not because saying no would create discomfort, not because you felt guilty or obligated or afraid, but because something deep within you, something truer than all the voices of expectation, said yes. Can you remember, or has it been so long that the memory itself has faded into the background noise of everyone else's needs? Because here's what nobody tells you about the journey of becoming a whole person. There are those who will stand in your way, not with obvious cruelty or visible violence, but with requests. Small, reasonable-sounding requests that arrive dressed as love. They come with tears in their eyes and trembling voices saying things like, "But we're family," or "If you really cared," or "I don't know what I'll do without you." And before you know it, you're carrying a weight that was never meant to be yours. You're solving problems you didn't create. You're managing crises that aren't your responsibility. You're sacrificing pieces of yourself on an altar built by someone else's expectations. You're living a life that looks helpful from the outside, but feels hollow from the inside. And somewhere in the back of your mind, a question whispers. A question you're almost afraid to ask because you're not sure you want to know the answer. When did I stop being a person and become a resource? When did I stop mattering to myself? The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. But there are forces subtle and persistent that will try to prevent this becoming. They operate in the spaces between spoken words. They live in the silence after you've said yes when you meant no. They thrive in the guilt that follows your one attempt at a boundary. Your unconscious knows before your conscious mind admits it. It sends you signals. The tightness in your chest when their name appears on your phone. The heaviness that descends when you realize you'll see them tomorrow. The quiet voice that says something's wrong here, even as your mouth forms the words, "Of course I'll help." This is what we're going to explore together. Not the grand betrayals that make for dramatic stories, but the small daily thefts. The ways people ask things of you that steal your peace, drain your becoming, and leave you wondering why you feel so hollow. Because these requests don't arrive with warning labels. They come wrapped in normalcy and tradition, in the way things have always been done. But just because something has always been done doesn't mean it should continue. Just because someone has always taken doesn't mean you must always give. And just because you've always said yes doesn't mean no isn't waiting in your throat, ready to be spoken. Before we dive deeper into this exploration, if this awakening speaks to your journey toward wholeness, if these words mirror something you felt but couldn't name, honor that recognition with a like and subscribe. Your engagement helps this wisdom reach other souls walking the path of individuation, other people who are learning, perhaps for the first time, that protecting yourself isn't selfishness, it's survival. To understand what's happening in these relationships, we need to look beneath the surface of human personality. We don't just have a conscious mind going about its daily business. We have layers, depths, territories of the psyche that most people never explore. There's the ego, the part of you that thinks it's running the show. It's your sense of I, your conscious awareness, the you that you think you are when someone asks who you are. But that's just the beginning. Then there's the persona, the mask you wear when you step into the world. It's the role you play, the face you show, the acceptable version of yourself that navigates social expectations. The good daughter, the reliable friend, the one who always helps, the one who never complains. These aren't fake exactly, but they're not the whole truth either. Beneath that lies something most people spend their entire lives running from. The shadow. Everything you've decided you're not allowed to be. Every quality you've buried, every desire you've denied, every aspect of yourself you've deemed unacceptable. It doesn't disappear just because you've locked it away. It lives in the basement of your psyche, growing stronger in the darkness, influencing your choices in ways you don't recognize. And at the center, deeper than all of this, is the self with a capital S. Not the ego's small I, but the archetype of wholeness. The complete, integrated, authentic person you're meant to become. This is the destination of the journey called individuation. This is what your soul is trying to reach. Now here's where it gets interesting and painful. Certain people enter your life, and they don't just interact with your persona. They reach into these deeper structures. They sense your unintegrated parts, your shadow material, your places of shame and guilt and unfinished business. And whether they know it consciously or not, they use them. They know exactly which button to press, which wound to touch, which fear to activate. It's uncanny, isn't it? How they always know just what to say to make you fold. How they can bypass your rational mind and speak directly to your guilt. How one phrase from them can undo all your carefully constructed resolve. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. This is true. Your reactions are always information about your inner world. But what happens when someone isn't there to teach you about yourself? What happens when they're simply there to exploit what they find? Because not everyone who triggers you is a teacher. Not every difficult person is a lesson. Sometimes a difficult person is just someone who's learned that if they push hard enough, you'll give them what they want. And they don't care what it costs you. They've discovered that your guilt is stronger than your boundaries, that your fear of conflict is greater than your need for peace. Think about how this works in practice. You've worked all day, you're exhausted, you're looking forward to an evening of rest. And the phone rings. You see their name. Something in your stomach tightens. You already know before you answer that they need something. They always need something. But you answer because not answering feels impossible. It feels cruel. It feels like a betrayal of who you're supposed to be. And they start talking about their problem, their emergency, their situation that simply cannot wait. And you feel yourself being pulled in like a tide, like you have no choice, like this is just what you do. This is who you are. The one who helps. The one who shows up. The one who sacrifices. But here's the question nobody asks. Is this really who you are? Or is this who you've been trained to be? There are 7 specific ways this happens. 7 particular requests that sound reasonable on the surface, but represent something far more insidious underneath. They're not random. They're systematic. Each one targets a different aspect of your journey toward wholeness. Each one, if you agree, pulls you further from yourself and deeper into a role that serves their needs while destroying yours. I'm going to walk you through each one. Not just to name them, but to help you understand the psychological mechanisms at work. Because once you see the pattern, once you recognize what's really being asked, you can't unsee it. And that recognition, uncomfortable as it may be, is the first step toward freedom. The work of becoming yourself, what we call individuation in depth psychology, and what Carl Jung empath and personal development traditions have long emphasized, is the most important work of your life. It's not selfish. It's not optional. It's the task your soul came here to complete. You're meant to become whole, integrated, authentically yourself. Not a collection of other people's expectations, not a performance designed to keep everyone comfortable. You, the real you, the complete you. But this work has enemies. Not dramatic villains, but everyday people who benefit from your lack of wholeness. People who need you fragmented because a whole person can say no. A whole person knows their limits. A whole person doesn't carry what isn't theirs to carry. And so they ask, they keep asking. And if you've spent your life being the one who gives the one, who accommodates the one, who makes everything work for everyone else, then these requests feel normal. They feel like love. They feel like what family does, what friends do, what good people do. But there's a difference between generous love and self-destruction. There's a difference between helping someone in crisis and enabling someone's refusal to grow. There's a difference between being kind and being consumed. And learning to tell the difference might be the most crucial skill you ever develop. Thing 1, they ask you to carry their shadow work. Everyone carries a shadow, and the less it is embodied in the individual's conscious life, the blacker and denser it is. Your shadow contains everything you've repressed, denied, refused to acknowledge about yourself. It's the parts of you that don't fit the story you tell about who you are. It's the anger you're not allowed to feel, the desires you're not permitted to have, the qualities you've decided are unacceptable. Shadow work is the brave, difficult, necessary process of facing what you've hidden. It's bringing the unconscious into consciousness. It's integrating the denied parts back into your wholeness. It's painful, it's humbling, it's essential, and it's absolutely your own work to do. But there are people who have no intention of doing this work. They've spent years, sometimes decades, building elaborate defenses against their own shadow material. They've projected it onto others, blamed circumstances, created narratives where they're always the victim and never the cause. And then they come to you. They present their unexamined darkness as your emergency. Their unresolved trauma becomes your daily burden. Their refusal to face themselves becomes your life's work. It starts small. Can you just help me with this one thing? And because you care, because you want to support them, because you believe that's what love does, you step in. But what begins as a single favor becomes a permanent arrangement. Before long, you're not just helping anymore. You're doing it for them. You're managing their emotions when they refuse to feel them. You're solving their problems when they refuse to think. You're carrying the weight of their unintegrated psyche while they walk through life unburdened free, commenting on how difficult their journey is while you carry their bags. And the tragic irony is that they often don't even see what you're doing. They've become so accustomed to your carrying that they mistake your exhaustion for your nature. And when you suggest gently, carefully that perhaps they need to address some of this themselves, perhaps they need to look at their patterns, perhaps they need to take responsibility for their healing, what happens? They react as if you've wounded them. They're hurt. They're offended. They remind you of everything they're going through. They make you feel guilty for even suggesting that this isn't your job. Think about what's actually happening here. You cannot integrate someone else's shadow. It's psychologically impossible. Shadow work requires that the person doing the work face their own denied material. It requires honesty, vulnerability, and a willingness to see what you've been avoiding. No one can do that for anyone else. By carrying their shadow work, by trying to heal them, fix them, manage them, you're not helping. You're enabling their unconscious to remain unconscious. You become a container for what they won't contain themselves. You become their emotional dumping ground, their crisis manager, their perpetual rescue operation. And there's a cost to this that nobody talks about. When you carry someone else's shadow material, when you're constantly processing their unexamined darkness, you lose access to your own inner work. You become so consumed with managing their psyche that you neglect your own. Your dreams go unexamined. Your patterns go unquestioned. Your own shadow work sits waiting while you exhaust yourself carrying theirs. The psychological rule says that when an inner situation is not made conscious, it happens outside as fate. Their fate, their patterns, their unresolved material starts to become your lived reality. Their chaos becomes your daily life. Their refusal to grow becomes your sentence. You're trapped in a pattern that serves neither of you. Because here's the truth they don't want you to know. When you carry what they should be carrying, you rob them of the very crisis that might finally force them to change. You cushion the fall that would teach them not to jump. You clean up the mess that would show them the cost of their choices. You become the reason they never have to face themselves. Compassion doesn't mean carrying what cripples them. True love, the kind that actually serves someone's growth, invites them to face their shadow, not flee from it. It says, I see you struggling, and I believe you're capable of doing this work. It holds space without taking space. It supports without substituting. Your individuation, your journey toward wholeness, requires that you carry only your own darkness. That's work enough for a lifetime. You have your own shadow to integrate your own unconscious, to make conscious your own denied aspects, to bring into the light. This is hard, sacred work, and it can only be done when you're not drowning in someone else's unprocessed material. Every burden you set down is space for your own becoming. Every responsibility you return to its rightful owner is energy you reclaim for your own integration. Every time you refuse to carry their shadow, you create the possibility that they might finally pick it up themselves. Thing 2, they ask you to sacrifice your individuation for their comfort. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Individuation, the process of becoming psychologically whole, is not a luxury. It's not something you do if you have time left over after meeting everyone else's needs. It's the central task of human existence. It's what your psyche is trying to accomplish from the moment you're born until the moment you die. And it terrifies people, and not all people. Not the ones who've begun their own journey of becoming, but the ones who are still hiding, still performing, still refusing to face themselves. To them, your growth is a threat. Your individuation is a mirror that reflects their stagnation. Your authenticity exposes their persona as the mask it is. So they ask you to stop. Not directly, usually. They don't say, please remain small and fragmented so I don't have to face my own lack of growth. They say things like, why are you changing? You're not yourself anymore. I liked you better before. What's gotten into you? You used to be so easygoing, so accommodating, so available. What they mean is, please stay stuck with me. Please don't grow beyond what I can understand. Please don't become so whole that my brokenness becomes obvious by contrast. This happens in families, in friendships, in romantic relationships, in communities. Wherever you've played a role, wherever people have grown comfortable with a particular version of you, your evolution will disturb the system. Because systems want homeostasis. They want everything to stay the same. And when one part changes, the whole system has to adjust. But here's what they're really asking. They're asking you to abandon the most important work of your life. They're asking you to stay smaller, quieter, less alive than you're meant to be. They're asking you to sacrifice your becoming for their comfort. And this sacrifice is profound. Because individuation isn't about becoming someone else. It's not about self-improvement in the conventional sense, not about becoming better than you are. It's about becoming more fully yourself. It's about integrating the scattered pieces of your psyche into a coherent whole. It's about bringing the unconscious into consciousness. It's about facing your shadow, understanding your patterns, recognizing your projections, and choosing with awareness rather than reacting from conditioning. It's about becoming complete, not perfect. Whole, not flawless. Real, not acceptable. When someone asks you to stop this process, they're asking you to remain fragmented, to stay unconscious, to keep performing whatever role makes them comfortable, regardless of whether that role has anything to do with who you actually are. The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. And because they haven't done this work, because they're terrified of their own completeness, they need you to stay terrified too. Your fear keeps them company. Your stuckness justifies theirs. Your refusal to grow gives them permission to remain unchanged. But think about what you're giving up. You're giving up your wholeness, your authenticity, your aliveness. You're giving up the chance to know yourself, to become yourself, to live as yourself, rather than as a collection of other people's expectations. And for what? To maintain a relationship based on your diminishment, to keep peace with people who are only peaceful when you're smaller than you are, to avoid the discomfort of someone else's disapproval. The people who ask you to change are often the ones who haven't done much changing themselves. They haven't examined their own lives. They haven't questioned their own assumptions. They simply follow the crowd, do what's expected, and then demand that you do the same. And when you resist, when you insist on being yourself, they become offended. Your wholeness is not up for negotiation. Anyone who asks you to stay small is afraid of your size. Anyone who punishes your evolution is threatened by what you're becoming. Anyone who demands you stop changing is invested in who you were, because that version served them better. Every step toward yourself is away from everyone who needs you lost. This is the hard truth of individuation. Not everyone will come with you. Not everyone can handle your growth. Not everyone wants you whole, because your wholeness changes, the dynamic shifts, the power requires them to look at their own lives and ask uncomfortable questions. But this is your one life. These are your finite days. This is your irreplaceable opportunity to become the person your soul is trying to create. And if you sacrifice that, if you give it up to maintain relationships that only work when you're less than you are, you'll reach the end of your life with the most painful regret of all. The regret of never having been yourself. Thing 3. They ask you to betray your authentic self for false harmony. There's a difference between your persona and your authentic self. The persona is a complicated system of relations between individual consciousness and society. It's the mask you wear, the role you play, the acceptable face you show the world. And it's necessary to some degree. We all need ways to navigate social reality, to function in various contexts, to present ourselves appropriately in different situations. But it becomes deadly when it replaces truth. When the mask becomes so fixed, you forget there's a face underneath. When the role becomes so consuming, you lose touch with the self that's playing it. And there are people in your life who prefer the mask. They like the role. They're comfortable with the performance. And they will ask you sometimes explicitly, but usually implicitly, to keep performing, to keep pretending, to choose false harmony over authentic truth. Don't make waves. Keep the peace. Just go along to get along. These are the phrases of betrayal dressed as wisdom. They sound reasonable. They sound mature. They sound like what good people do. But they're asking you to deny your reality, suppress your truth, and maintain a fiction that serves everyone's comfort except your own. False harmony is psychic violence. Because when you betray yourself to maintain peace, there is no peace. There's only suppression. The conflict doesn't disappear. It goes underground into your body, into your dreams, into the growing resentment that poisons every interaction, even as you smile and nod and agree. The acceptance of oneself is the essence of the moral problem and the epitome of a whole outlook on life. But they're asking you to reject yourself. They're asking you to decide that your truth is less important than their comfort, that your feelings are less valid than their preferences, that your authentic self is a problem to be managed rather than a reality to be honored. Think about where this pressure often comes from. Family systems that have operated on unspoken rules for generations. Communities that prioritize conformity over authenticity. Relationships where one person's emotional regulation requires everyone else's emotional suppression. Organizations that demand loyalty over integrity. This is how we've always done it. This phrase is the epitaph of authenticity. It's the voice of the collective unconscious, the ancestral patterns, the inherited ways of being that get passed down without examination. And it says, continue the wound. Maintain the pattern. Don't be the one who breaks the chain. But someone has to break the chain. Someone has to be the one who says, no, I won't pretend anymore. I won't perform a version of myself that isn't real. I won't sacrifice my truth for your comfort. And that someone might have to be you. The cost of false harmony is fragmentation. Every time you perform peace instead of speaking truth, you split. Part of you conforms, while another part screams in silence. Part of you nods, while another part dies a little. Part of you maintains the facade, while the authentic self goes underground into hiding, waiting for a moment that may never come. And with each split, with each suppression, with each performance, you become less integrated and more divided. Less whole and more scattered. Less yourself and more a collection of roles designed to keep other people comfortable. You become a stranger to yourself. You lose track of what you actually think, feel, want, believe. You can't tell anymore where the performance ends and the real you begins. You've played the role so long that you've forgotten it's a role. Real harmony is different. Real harmony includes your truth. It makes space for difference. It doesn't require everyone to agree or see things the same way. It allows for the full range of human experience, including the messy parts, the complicated parts, the parts that don't fit neatly into anyone's idea of how things should be. The truest peace comes from being at peace with your truth. The deepest calm comes from integration, not suppression. And anyone who can't handle your truth, who punishes your honesty, who demands your pretense, is showing you that they love an idea of you more than they love you. Thing 4. They ask you to enable their unconscious projections. Projection is one of the most powerful and destructive psychological mechanisms. It means seeing in others what we can't acknowledge in ourselves. It means casting our shadow onto someone else's screen. It means turning the world into a replica of our own unknown face. We all project. It's a basic function of the unconscious mind. You can't not project until you've done enough inner work to recognize when you're doing it and consciously withdraw the projection. But mature people, people who are engaged in their own psychological development, they learn to recognize their projections and take them back. But there are people who have no interest in this work. They project constantly unconsciously, and they demand that you confirm their projections. They demand that you play the role their psyche has assigned you, regardless of whether it has anything to do with who you actually are. They cast you as the villain in their internal drama, or the savior, or the parent, or the child, or the enemy, or the ideal. And then they interact with you, not as you are, but as the character they've created. When you don't match the projection, when you behave in ways that contradict their internal image, they get angry, confused. They double down on the projection. They insist more forcefully that you are what they say you are, because admitting you're not would mean confronting what's actually happening in their own psyche. And that confrontation is precisely what they're trying to avoid. You always do this. You never do that. You're just like everyone else who's hurt me. You're the only one who understands me. These are the languages of projection, absolutes, extremes, characterizations that flatten your full humanity into a single dimension that serves their psychological needs. When you accept their projection, when you try to be what they insist you are, you betray your reality. You become a character in their unconscious story. You lose yourself in their psyche's movie. You sacrifice your actual identity to confirm their imagined one. Where love rules, there is no will to power, and where power predominates, their love is lacking. And projection is always about power. It's the unconscious trying to control reality by insisting reality match its internal images. You are not a screen for their psyche's movie. You are not a hook for their disowned material. You are a whole, separate, distinct human being with your own reality, your own truth, your own complex inner world that has nothing to do with their projections. Rejecting the role is not cruelty. It's truth. Their growth begins when you stop confirming their projections. When you refuse to be what they insist you are, you create a crisis. And that crisis is the catalyst they need to turn inward. Thing 5. They ask you to abandon your inner work for their external demands. Who looks outside dreams? Who looks inside awakes? This distinction is everything. The outer world is the world of activity, achievement, interaction, obligation. The inner world is the world of reflection, integration, understanding, becoming. Both are necessary, but they must be balanced. Inner work is the conscious examination of the unconscious. It's paying attention to dreams. It's noticing patterns. It's asking why you react the way you react. And it requires time, quiet, solitude, space to think without interruption. But there are people who cannot tolerate your inward turn. The moment you become contemplative, the moment you withdraw into reflection, the moment you close your eyes to look inside, they interrupt. They need you. They have an emergency. They have something that absolutely cannot wait. And somehow, mysteriously, these emergencies always arise when you're turning inward. It's as if they have a sensor, some unconscious radar, that detects when you're becoming unavailable to their needs. And immediately, they create a situation that pulls you back to the external world, back to them, back to the role of helper and solver and manager of their lives. People who haven't met themselves fear those who are trying to. Your contemplation is a mirror showing them their lack of contemplation. So they interrupt. They demand. They create situations that require you to abandon your inner work and return your attention to their external dramas. Your visions will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. But they're asking you to look everywhere else, to look at their problems, their situations, their needs, to look outward constantly, to stay busy with external matters. There's a difference between the urgent and the important. The urgent screams. It demands immediate attention. It creates crisis and chaos. But the important is often quiet. It doesn't scream. It waits. Your inner work is important. It's the foundation everything else is built on. The work you do in silence creates the person you become in the world. The time you spend in reflection determines the quality of your actions. You cannot skip this work and expect to become whole. So you have to protect this time. Guard this space. Most of what they present as urgent isn't urgent at all. By constantly making their urgency your emergency, you enable the pattern. You teach them that if they create enough drama, you'll abandon yourself to attend to them. Thing 6. They ask you to live. Their unlived life. Nothing has a stronger influence psychologically on their environment, and especially on their children, than the unlived life of the parent. Unlived life equals dreams, abandoned paths, not taken selves, not become. It haunts and it projects. The unlived life is everything you meant to do, but didn't. Everything you wanted to be, but became afraid to attempt. Every dream you set aside for practical reasons, for other people's expectations, for fear of failure or judgment. It's the ghost of your potential. And when people carry an unlived life, they often try to hand it to someone else. Usually someone they love. They place their unfulfilled desires on you like a coat that doesn't fit. They want you to live the life they should have lived. I always wanted to be a writer, so you should study literature. I never got to travel, so you should take this opportunity. Their disappointment when you choose differently. Their investment in outcomes that serve their unlived dreams, not your lived one. But you cannot redeem someone else's unlived life by not living your own. This is the crucial truth. When you try to live their unlived life, 2 lives go unlived. Theirs and yours. Each generation must face its own shadows, its own choices, its own paths. You cannot carry forward what someone else should have carried. You can only become yourself. You are not the remedy for someone else's regret. You are not the second chance for someone else's abandoned dreams. You are your own person with your own calling, your own path, your own life that's trying to be lived. When you live your life, you free both of you. By refusing to carry their unlived life, by insisting on living your own, you hand back to them the possibility of still living theirs. Thing 7. They ask you to merge your psyche with theirs. Boundaries are not walls. They're not barriers erected to keep people out. Psychological boundaries are something far more subtle and sacred. They're the healthy membrane that defines where you end and someone else begins. The meeting of 2 personalities is like the contact of 2 chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. But transformation is not dissolution. When 2 chemicals react, they create something new while retaining their essential natures. But there are people who can't tolerate this separateness. They can't tell where they end and you begin. They treat your emotions as their emergency. They require access to your inner world as proof of connection. They ask that you merge your psyche with theirs. We're so close. We're practically the same person. I know you better than you know yourself. These phrases sound like intimacy, like deep connection. But sometimes they're the language of enmeshment, the language of boundary violation. They can't let you have a feeling without having it too, or without taking it personally. If you're sad, they're devastated. If you're happy, they're ecstatic or threatened. Your inner life is not your own. They require constant communication. They need to know what you're thinking, feeling, doing every moment. Not because they're genuinely interested in you as a separate person with a rich inner life, but because they can't tolerate the space between you. The space that would remind them you're not an extension of them, but a distinct individual with your own inner world. Every moment of separation feels like abandonment to them. Every boundary feels like rejection. Every assertion of your separateness feels like the beginning of the end. When you assert your separateness, when you say, "Actually, I feel differently," they react with hurt, with accusations of distance, with fears that you don't love them anymore. What they're really reacting to is the threat of boundaries. This isn't intimacy. This is enmeshment. Real connection requires two wholes, not two halves, trying to become one. Individuation makes real relationship possible. Without boundaries, there's no one to relate to, just psychological fusion. The healthy man does not torture others. And he doesn't demand psychological merger because he understands that real love, real connection, requires two separate, whole, individuated people choosing to come together. Your separateness is not a problem to solve, but a reality to honor. You can be deeply connected and still be distinctly yourself. In fact, that's the only way to be truly connected. Now you see the pattern. 7 requests that masquerade as reasonable, as loving, as what relationships require. But underneath each one is an invitation to self-betrayal. And the question now is not just about recognizing these patterns in others, but understanding why they've worked on you. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Your compliance was not weakness. Your inability to refuse was not a character flaw. It was unconscious material. It was old patterns, probably learned early, that taught you your value lies in your usefulness. These beliefs live in the shadow. They're in the parts of your psyche you haven't examined, the assumptions you inherited, without questioning the conditioning you absorbed before you had the consciousness to resist. They were installed early, often by well-meaning people who were themselves operating from their own unconscious patterns. And they've been running your life ever since, like software you didn't know was there, making decisions you thought were yours, but were really just programmed responses. The first step in changing any pattern is bringing it into awareness, seeing it, naming it, understanding where it came from and why it persists. Let's talk about boundaries, not as a technique, but as a philosophical and psychological necessity. Boundaries are membranes that let in what nourishes and keep out what harms. They're how you protect the space needed for your own becoming. Think about boundaries as holding tension between opposites. You can love someone and refuse their request. You can care deeply and protect yourself. Both are true. Both are necessary. The mature psyche holds both. So what does no sound like? It doesn't require explanation, justification, or apology. No is a complete sentence because it comes from a complete self. The people who respect you will understand this. They might be disappointed, but they'll respect your right to have boundaries. And the people who don't respect your boundaries, the ones who push back, who guilt you, who make you feel selfish for having limits, they've just shown you who they really are. They were never truly there for you. They were there for what you could provide. But here's the thing about boundaries. They come with guilt, at least at first. When you start saying no, it feels wrong. It feels selfish. Ask yourself, whose voice is that? Is it your authentic conscience or the internalized voice of everyone who benefited from your lack of boundaries? Real guilt comes from genuine transgression. But the guilt from setting boundaries is usually false guilt. It's the voice of conditioning. And when you start to see it for what it is, the guilt begins to lose its power. Some relationships will end when you set boundaries. And this is information. The relationships that end were never about you. They were about what you could provide. This hurts, but better to know the truth. The relationships that were real don't end. They deepen. They become more authentic because now they're built on truth rather than performance. How do you protect yourself on a daily basis? Through ongoing inner work. Active imagination is one practice. When someone makes a request, pause. Go inward. Ask yourself, is this mine to carry? And trust what emerges. Pay attention to your dreams. Your unconscious is always speaking, showing you where your boundaries are weak. Do regular shadow work. What am I carrying that isn't mine? This isn't a one-time inventory. This is ongoing work. The goal is not perfection. The goal is consciousness. To move from unconscious reaction to conscious choice. To become the author of your own life rather than a character in everyone else's drama. Imagine for a moment what your life looks like when you carry only what's yours. When you've set down everyone else's burdens, everyone else's expectations. When you've protected your inner work, honored your individuation, chosen your authentic self. Your energy returns first. That bone-deep exhaustion that's been your constant companion begins to lift. You wake up without dread. You move through your day without constantly bracing for the next demand. You go to bed and actually rest, instead of lying awake processing everyone else's problems. You discover you have time not because you've added hours to the day, but because you're no longer spending those hours managing other people's unmanaged lives. Then clarity comes. The fog that's been clouding your thinking starts to clear. You begin to hear your own voice again. You remember who you are underneath all the roles and performances. And your relationships transform. Some end, yes, and that's a necessary loss. But the ones that remain become real in a way they never were before. Because now you're showing up as yourself, and the people who stay are staying for you. I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. This is the promise of individuation. You're not defined by your conditioning, by your past. You're defined by what you choose now. There's something called sacred selfishness. Not narcissism, but the necessary self-protection that allows you to become whole. You cannot give from an empty well. You cannot love from a depleted psyche. Your wholeness is not selfish. Your wholeness is your gift. A whole person brings so much more to the world than a fragmented one. A whole person loves more deeply because they're loving from choice, not obligation. And here's the ripple effect. When you individuate, when you become whole, when you set boundaries, you give others permission to do the same. You model what integrity looks like. Your healing becomes an invitation to others to begin their own work. Think about the hero's journey, that universal pattern of human development. You're on that journey right now. Every person is. And part of that journey, a crucial part that often gets overlooked, is refusing the false calls. There are invitations that sound like adventure but are really traps. Requests that sound like love but are really manipulation. Demands that sound like duty but are really exploitation. The hero must learn to discern true calls from false ones. Must learn to say no to what doesn't serve the journey, even when saying no feels hard, even when saying no disappoints people, even when saying no means walking alone for a while. The treasure you're seeking is not out there. The treasure is yourself, your whole, integrated, authentic self. And every boundary you set is a step closer to that treasure. I'll be honest with you. It's hard at first. The unfamiliar always is. You'll doubt yourself. You'll wonder if you're being too harsh. You'll hear the voices of conditioning telling you to go back. But stay the course. Because on the other side of this discomfort is a life that's actually yours. A life built on truth rather than performance. A life with relationships that feed rather than drain. A life where you don't have to defend yourself because you're no longer betraying yourself. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Not who your family needed you to be. Not who your culture expected you to be. Who you truly are. The whole, complete, authentic self that's been waiting underneath all the roles and masks. And everyone who truly loves you wants you to arrive at that self. The people who don't, who prefer you fragmented and compliant, they don't love you. They love what you do for them. They love the service you provide. Let them go. Bless them if you can understand them if possible, but let them go. Because your individuation is more important than their comfort. Your wholeness is more valuable than their approval. You are not selfish for protecting your individuation. You are not cruel for maintaining boundaries. You are not guilty for choosing wholeness over fragmentation. You are on the path that matters most, the path to yourself. This is the work, not the easy work, not the comfortable work, but the necessary work. This is the path that Carl Jung empath and personal development teachings have illuminated for generations. This is the privilege and the responsibility of being human, to become who you truly are. The world doesn't need more fragmented people trying to be everything to everyone and ending up being nothing to themselves. The world needs whole people, people who know who they are, people who live from their truth, people who set boundaries and honor them, people who carry their own weight and refuse to carry what isn't theirs, people who love deeply but don't lose themselves in that love, people who give generously but don't give themselves away, people who show up authentically rather than performing versions of themselves designed to keep everyone else comfortable. The world needs you whole, not perfect, not superhuman, but whole, integrated, conscious, authentic, yourself. This journey toward wholeness is one we walk together even when we walk it alone. Each person doing their inner work, each person setting their boundaries, we're all part of the same transformation. So what boundary will you set today? What burden will you put down? What request will you refuse? What version of yourself will you stop performing? What authentic truth will you finally speak? Your individuation matters. Your wholeness matters. Your authentic life matters. Not just to you, though it matters profoundly to you, but to everyone your life touches, to everyone who needs an example of what it looks like to choose yourself. You are that permission. Your boundaries are that example. Your individuation is that transformation. And the more you become yourself, the more you give others permission to become themselves. Thank you for walking this path with courage. Thank you for considering these ideas. Thank you for beginning, continuing, or deepening your own journey toward wholeness. Your individuation is a gift to the world. Honor it, protect it, live it. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. May you claim that privilege. May you complete that journey. May you arrive finally and fully at yourself.